think if people walk in a room, sit in the back of the room, or walk into especially a conference, sit in the back of the room, listen to a speaker, walk out and have never engaged with anyone else because they're on their phone or they're doing this, like we've lost. That's a loss. Because true learning and engagement comes from, I think, what happens in the hallways a lot of the time, where you say, oh, I heard that guy say this, or I heard this woman speak on this, and what did you think? So that's a loss. As far as what not to do for events, I don't know. We've had live tigers, and that worked out pretty well.
Welcome to the Your Seat at the Table podcast with your hosts, Idea Monkey Mike Maddock and ringleader John Tobin. We're two founders, a serial entrepreneur and a billion-dollar operator, who talk to leaders about how, when, and why they made their most pivotal decisions in life. Join us as we share wisdom, mistakes, and a few laughs learning from the brightest minds in business today. Hey, lucky us, we're here with Carol. Carol, hi.
Hello.
Welcome, Carol.
Thanks for joining us at the Your Seat at the Table podcast. It's good to have you at the table a couple days before Thanksgiving. This is the I'm at grandmother's house home edition. So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So Carol, tell us, you're an entrepreneur. Give us, how did you get there? You went from a bacon smelling waitress. That's what your LinkedIn account says. I didn't just make that up.
That is true.
You said it. I'm just repeating it. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to go to work for General Motors when I was about 20 years old. And I intended, that was the brass ring. If you grew up in the Detroit area and you worked for one of the big three, that was going to be the end all be all. So I was going to be this good corporate citizen, for the rest of my life. And I was fortunate enough to be allowed to coordinate what was called at that time the Dealer's Son School, which was the sons and daughters of car dealers who came to Detroit to learn how to take over the parents' business. So what that did is it taught me how to coordinate training and conferences. And it also put me in the room with world-class, business experts who taught me how to run a business. So it was amazing, great opportunity. And I decided I was going to walk away from that brass ring and leave my company or leave my General Motors and start my own agency.
Okay, hold on a second. So did you just say Sun School?
Yeah.
Is this before PC?
Yeah.
At what point was it rebranded to Son and Daughter, or is it still the Sun School?
Hopefully after I was gone. I mean, some point after I was gone, but
Oh, well. I remember talking to the John, who's the CEO of Ace Hardware, and it's Ace is a place with a helpful hardware, man. And they change it to folks. I'm like, folks, John? He's like, I know, but we had to. So, okay. So you started your own company.
Do you not say folks, Mike? You don't say folks?
I say folks because I'm folksy, but I grew up with hardware man.
No,
like
I know.
Hard
But
A from the Midwest.
I say folks all the time. I don't know if that's like a Chicago thing or what, but
Yeah.
I
like
think
the
too.
name.
I think it's a Southern thing. I don't know, but I say it too.
Oh,
Do
interesting.
you say y'all? That would be a Southern thing.
Yeah, that is, but I don't say it, but I say folks.
So,
Do you say
Carol,
one syllable
you were-
words with two syllables? Like, well, that's a Southern thing.
Bless your heart. So Carol, you were at GM for like 6 years-ish, right?
6-7 years. Yeah. Mhm.
And so obviously seeing how to run a business, like you said, as well as getting into event planning and training. What was the spark though that made you feel like, oh, I got to do this on my own? Or was there a spark? Was there a person that you really looked up to? How did you get the guts to do it? I think is probably what I'm curious about.
Well, first, I recognize that when you walk in a room for a business event, for the most part, you're going to walk out of there hopefully changed in one way. I mean, the people, at least one way, the people that were there for GM were going to come out and be able to run a business and do great things. And there just should be something good and positive that comes out of that. And as much as I love bringing people together in the room, I wanted to do it for something other than to sell cars, right? And I couldn't do that staying in General Motors. So I love the idea of helping people gather together to solve a problem, to, help the community, to, raise funds for something, worthy. So I had to leave to do that.
Do you think that your experience at GM or your experience as a waitress helped you more with creating customer events?
I might have to say General Motors because really, I mean, I was around some wonderful, brilliant people when it came to customer satisfaction, and just so many lessons I learned from a hospitality standpoint, even though it was cars that I've taken. It just sort of ingrained in me now.
Yeah, I would have gotten that one wrong. I
Yeah,
would have bet
I
you would have
know.
said being Waitress. Yeah.
I probably was a
Um,
better trainer than a waitress. That's probably something to do.
John, were you ever a busboy or a waiter?
No, I was a caddy. That was my very
Yeah,
first job, and
similar.
then I worked at a drugstore, like a local drugstore. If you and I did that all through high school, and even I think my first year out of in college, I did it for that. So very, service oriented, but not. And then I mowed lawns a lot, like that. Then helped my dad do roofing, but
Yeah.
never actually work at a restaurant.
I was a
Tough job.
bartender, Carol,
It's
and
a tough
so I got
job.
a
Yep.
chance to, throw beer, quarter draws in school. But anyway, customer facing stuff and working at 31 Flavors all through high school really helped me with understanding people. Um, so you talk about your favorite event they ever put on.
I have to say last year, so we do a lot of work with foundations like Kresge, Kellogg, Ford Foundation, and we also do a lot of work with organizations celebrating milestone anniversaries. So the Kresge Foundation celebrated 100 years last year, and we brought together this amazing event here in Detroit with so many local musical artists and poets and performers and the community, and the surprise guest was President Obama.
Oh, cool.
It was very difficult to keep that secret,
Mhm.
but we did. And it really represented the community and it had such life, and it was really exciting.
It's amazing. Do you have any what makes an amazing event and what is on your don't ever do this in an event list?
You stole my question, Mike.
Oh, dang it. Sorry, man.
No,
Sorry.
it's good.
You can see we just make this up as we go along, Carol.
You just done this thing. Wait, it's like, I think if people walk in a room, sit in the back of the room, or walk into especially a conference, sit in the back of the room, listen to a speaker, walk out, and have never engaged with anyone else because they're on their phone or they're doing this, like we've lost. That's a loss, because true learning and engagement comes from, I think, what happens in the hallways a lot of the time, where you say, "Oh, I heard that guy say this," or "I heard this woman speak on this," and what did you think? So that's a loss. As far as what not to do for events, I don't know. We've had live tigers, and that worked out pretty well.
It really
Oh,
worked
I
out for
can't take
Siegfried and Roy, huh?
What was the context of the live tiger? Was it like for a circus
It was a gift.
convention?
It was a retirement gift to a CEO.
Wow.
It was not, he
From
didn't get to keep the tiger. It was just a cub. But he was going on, the company gave him a very special trip, a retirement trip, and it was a safari and all these things. So they wanted this to be presented on stage with a tiger. And we had to measure the tigers to make sure that they were within the hotel's allowed limits for tiger size, which we did that prior to, several months prior. And then they grew, and then they showed up on site and they were over the limit, and that was the whole thing. But it worked out.
That's amazing. Do you have a question? I have other questions, John, but I don't want to
Well,
steal another one.
well,
So
I
what do you
think
got?
just feeding off of, the company itself and special D events, and what makes it special in your mind? Is it very focused in the Detroit community, or is it broader than that? And maybe just any differentiators you would want to point out.
Yeah, so we have managed events in all 50 states. That's not
Okay.
something, we've physically been on the ground in 50 states, and that's something that not a lot of other agencies could say. When I started the company, Detroit was not necessarily a destination city for business events, and that's all we do, by the way, as a business. We don't do social, but it has grown into such a wonderful place to do business and to, physically bring people, that a lot of our business is in our backyard now, which is great.
Nice.
Our employees
I
actually
don't,
go to parties, and people know who they are and know who they work for, as opposed to, when we didn't do a lot around here.
John and I both do a fair amount of speaking, and I always um make friends with the people running the board. And I always go and thank them when nothing goes wrong, because I feel like
Mm,
that's like the IT guy of a company, where the only time they ever hear from anyone was when something didn't work. And they're supposed to be invisible, and actually getting all that stuff to work
Yeah.
the keep the pace of the show and the videos and the mics and no feedback and all that stuff. When it works seamlessly, you've got a really good crew. And with that, tell me your biggest horror story when it didn't work. What's
Well, everything that happens in real life happens at events. So we have
yeah?
had babies born, we've had people pass away, we've had
Oh my
people
God.
get very, very drunk and do things that they should never do. We had one organization that sent their HR executive to the event every year, and her sole responsibility was, as she said, to make sure no one does anything that gets them fired.
Yeah. Did she get fired?
I mean, stuff happens. People, to the best of our ability, we try and make sure it doesn't. But, just a couple of weeks ago, we were at doing an event in Mississippi, and the catering staff had a little moment to breathe, and they were fascinated by what was going on stage. It was a topic relevant to them, and they leaned back on the wall, and they plunged the room into darkness because they leaned on the
Uh,
light switches,
yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
was fun. So,
That's too bad.
yeah.
Have you had any, this is a tough question, but maybe you do it. Well, I'm going to ask it anyway, because have you ever had someone who disappointed you? In other words, like a celebrity that you thought was really nice, but when you met him in person, it was just like, oh my gosh, how rude, what a jerk. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I ask this
Yeah, I
question to
mean,
people backstage, and there's always somebody like, oh my gosh, what a diva, you know?
no, and we had for a short period of time, state of Michigan gave away a lot of film credits to filmmakers to try and bring business to Detroit. And we had the unique piece of the business where we would meet them at the gate or meet at the gate and get them to their car or vice versa when they went out. And so and it was just this brief moment where we had to make sure that nothing happened to them along the way and they knew where they were going. And I got to meet Whitney Houston and Miley Cyrus and,
Awesome.
all kinds of people. And honestly, they were all delightful. There was really no one. They all had crazy stories. I mean, Wesley Snipes and, crazy things that happened in that 30 minutes between the gate and and Tommy Lee and oh my gosh, like crazy things that happened in that period. Yeah. I had a flight attendant dropped on her knees and asked Wesley Snipes to marry her.
Yeah, that sounds right. Did he say yes? What happened?
No.
What about really strange? Everyone's heard the story
Green
about
M&Ms.
the blue M&M
Green
that was
M&Ms.
just what was it? It was like a red herring to
Yeah.
make sure that people were paying attention to the details. Do you have a crazy request that you're like, you got to be kidding me? You don't have to say who it was from.
I had a sportscaster once try to bring food through security at a airport, and he they weren't going to let him do it, and I thought he was going to be really upset. And he goes, honestly, he says, my wife makes me eat this stuff. It's healthy. She says, when I travel, like I don't really want to take it. Just throw it out. It's fine. It's fine.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of. But the green M&Ms things is real. I mean, there are a lot of details in that contract, and that is one way to make sure people are paying attention.
A friend of mine that you probably know told me this story about Tony Robbins, who wanted to slide down on a cable to the stage, and he told his people that's what he wanted. Have you heard this story?
No,
So
it's reminding me of a horror story that a lady never tells about, but yeah, a meeting planner never tells about, but yeah.
Oh, tell your story. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no. Entrance.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell the story. So Tony Robbins goes to his team. He's like, hey, I got an idea. I want to slide down on a cable onto the stage. And they're like, well, that's not easy to do. He's like, come on, make it happen. So he comes in, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Robbins, the spotlights and all of a sudden the spotlight goes up and here he comes on a cable and he comes about halfway down to the audience and gets stuck on this cable. And he's got the big hands and and the microphone. He's like, okay, my guys like to mess around with me. Keep going, guys. Let's go. And they're just like, so they had to call the fire department.
No way. Oh
Somewhere
my
a
God.
meeting planner just, passed out and threw up in the hallway.
I think there's a best of show Spinal Tap movie to be made about motivational speakers, because I've been behind the stage and you're like, who is this guy? And they're completely different. And then he got up on stage with the jazz hands, the sparkle fingers. And I think a meeting, can you imagine how funny that would be? And it's just real stories
That's a good
about
one.
what happens. Yeah.
That's a
That'd be
really
fun.
good idea, Mike,
No,
actually.
thanks. Carol, I
So
want you to
we
run
so
with
we
it.
just
Every good event planner has a book in him or her. So
I'm telling you. Yeah.
we just had our big client event in New York, and we had about 2,000 clients and maybe 250 slalom people that were there.
Appreciate the invite, John. Thanks. I
You're
was probably
welcome.
busy.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But it was really well attended, well received, and we had some amazing speakers. But we had George Bush and Bill Clinton come up and
wow.
talk, and Brad, our CEO, interviewed them. But to start that, Mike, talking about gaffes, um, Clinton had his like a little lapel microphone, so he was all fine. For whatever reason, George Bush didn't want to do that. He wanted a mic, so he had an actual mic. He had the mic, and um, when he came out, he inadvertently went like this, like to tap it to start it, and it actually turns it off. And so he's like talking, and he's trying to get everybody's attention. And it was this awkward, like 5 minutes of like back and forth. And it wasn't, and then they brought him out a new mic, and he did the same thing, and he hit it again, and it turns off. And so they finally pinned it on him. But he was actually super funny. The way he handled the whole thing, and he was kind of getting mad at Brad, like pretending mad at Brad, like, if you didn't want me to talk, Brad, you should have not invited me up here. And he was super funny, actually. I don't know
He's
if you
really
guys ever
funny.
met him. He was so quick and funny. It was really, really interesting. But I do think like some of those moments and how you recover
Yeah.
from it makes actually more memorable, frankly.
Yeah.
So, Carol, I know this is a show. Sorry for another story, but I have to tell it. I met President Bush, and I shook his hand, and I said, "Hey, listen, I didn't always agree with your policy, but I really thought that you believed in your policy. So thank you. You're always in integrity." He goes, "Well, I had really good parents." And I told him about my dad, who, Carol, is John's father-in-law, who's out golfing right now.
Okay.
And I told him he's a Navy, and I go, if you have a chance, I'd really like to get a picture with you. This is backstage in an event. And he goes, "Well, sure. Your dad served. I'd love to do that." So he got off stage, and they were rushing him out, like rush it. You've seen this, Carol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rushing him out the door. And he stopped, and he goes, "Wait, hold on a second. Where's Mike? Where's Mike? I promised him a picture." And he came back in the room and said, "Mike, let's get a picture for your dad." And he, it was such a sweet thing, because it was a gift that I get. And he goes, "Tell your dad thank you for me." So
Yeah.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So if you had $1 billion, Carol, and I'm not suggesting that you don't, I mean, it's kind of presumptuous, and you could make your own, do anything you wanted to with your company with $1 billion, how would you make it different?
I want the event planning industry to be more sustainable and to take advantage of what they can do, the opportunities that they have to help food insecurity. In the last couple months, I've been really involved in that. I've always been passionate about that. But if you go to meetings, right? You go to trade shows. At the end of the day, there is so much excess left over. I mean, a trade show is a sea of cardboard and things, right? But a lot of events, it's food. It's just, and there's just a lot of confusion over what can be donated and what's allowed, and federal laws, but local laws. And we had a really good experience recently, for instance, where when you rent a venue, you commit to spend a certain amount of food and beverage. Our client booked this venue, then brought us in later, and their food and beverage minimum was never going to be met. They couldn't put enough people in that room to eat that much shrimp. I mean, there was just no way. So rather than just leave money on the table, my event planner said, "Why don't we take that money, and can the venue give us prepackaged things, snack bars, water, whatever, and then can the client donate that to a food pantry?" The venue said yes. All they had to do was be asked. They were grateful to do it. We'd already spent the money. The client was already spent the money. The client got to do something good. And it was simple. It was just so simple. And I put that out on LinkedIn, and it was the most successful social post we have ever had. I had 150,000 people view it, thousands of likes and shares and hundreds of people. Food banks reached out to me because there's a lot of simple things we can do like that. And if I could just stop and make all my people work on that and work with planners across the country, we could make a huge difference.
I love that.
That's
That's a
brilliant.
great idea.
Yeah.
It
Makes
really
so much
is.
sense. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's kind of simple, no brainer.
And
Love it.
think about in the last couple of weeks with the government shutdown and the flights and things, there were people who were guaranteeing hundreds of meals that never got served. And so I was so excited that we got that message out there in advance of some of that, because some government planners and things wrote back and said, I can do this. I can, and a lot of venues, they're not going to offer it, but if you ask, they'll do it. And so we might have made a tiny little difference in the last couple months. And I would love to do that full time.
Did you, I have friends that are meeting planners and professional speakers and catering companies. You probably know Andrea Herrera.
Yeah, love Andrea.
She's a good
she's
buddy of
great.
mine. She's in one of my Flourish groups. So I get to, I lived through COVID with her and my friends. How did you get through that? I mean, that was like, talk about a black swan event. Like, oh, we plan events. Sorry, no events, except for virtual ones. How did you make it?
So, as business owners, you wake up every day and think, what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? Never did I think I was going
Yeah.
to wake up one day and what I do is suddenly against the law. Because if you remember, there were literally, laws against gathering people in the room, whether it was a baby shower or a 2,000 person convention. I just, I got to admit, I did not see that one coming. But
Yeah.
I
You
also,
didn't have that on your bingo card?
no. I also knew it wasn't a short-term thing. I mean, I'm an optimist by nature, but I'm also a realist. And so many people in our industry were just, it'll be fine. Just give it a few months. And I'm like, nope. I distinctly remember sitting down with my senior leadership team and saying, 2020 is done. 2020 is done for us. It's just done. We got to start thinking about a bridge to 2021 and maybe 22. I mean, I knew, so I did what we do with events. Like, events have a lot to do with live theater. Everything, you roll with it, right? Things happen that are unexpected, and you just got to assess where you are and pivot. And so that's what we did. And we, I had to lay a ton of really good people off. And I was able to keep some thanks to the PPP. And I divided them up into sort of two teams. And I said, all right, this is what we've got, right? What can we make money at? These are our skills. These are our assets. And half of the team went after, can we focus on virtual meetings events? And the other half focused on our subsidiary, which is celebrating corporate milestones in a way that's above and beyond getting people in a room. So kind of split everybody up, got together. They were part of the solution. And in the end, we went all in on virtual. And we had to teach ourselves how to do virtual, right? Because I wasn't about to go out there to the world and say, oh, we're the best at this, right? We'd never done it. So
Yeah.
fortunately, the industry responded, and there were lots of certification programs out there. So we went to school, went back to school. We used those PPP funds and we learned how to do it well. And the idea was, I want to keep this company alive. We're smart. We're going to do this. At the end of the day, we're going to be left standing, and we're going to bring back everybody that we can after this is over. And just let's keep the brand alive. And we did it. So
That's amazing. What percentage of your business is virtual now?
very little. I would say 10%. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of surprised at that, because there were some opportunities, I think, that, like, we had an organization we worked with that was a real niche. And they had, probably a couple hundred people around the world that were involved in this particular medical situation. And they never had the funds to meet in person, really, because, I mean, they did a very small group, but they didn't have the funds to bring everybody in globally. And they, we went virtual, and suddenly this whole community was able to interact online and share best practices and learn. And, there were opportunities like that I think they should have kept in some cases.
Carol, how big is your team roughly? I'm trying to, and then I want to get into a little bit some of the things that the focus of this podcast is about making decisions and things like that, and different pivots. And you just talked about a huge one in terms of, dealing with COVID. But roughly, can you explain a little bit maybe how you're structured and a little bit the size of the team?
Yeah, so I have 12 full-time, 2 part-time, and the rest are all independent contractors. Contractors are specialists. Some may be specialists in trade shows, some in auctions, silent auctions, and then they come and go depending on the project.
Yep, that's kind of what I guess. I guess it was pretty lean, mean team. And then you sort of flex with different events and depending on what you're doing. That makes tons of sense. So as you think about that and think about different things that you had to do over, the 30 years or so, what were there big pivot moments where it's like, oh, I don't know if I could take this big thing on, or, you mentioned
Yeah.
COVID. Were there other times like in, let's say 2009, after the real estate financial crisis, were there times that were really hard? Maybe just talk about some of those moments, and then maybe the framing for how you made decisions, or who you interacted with to be able to get you through those.
Yeah. So when the original recession hit, um, we so what happened was, that when a recession hits, people sometimes are the first thing to go as far as their training or their incentive trips, or celebrations are the first thing to go. So we sort of knew that was coming. We could see that. But we had had the opportunity to help a couple of large organizations on their anniversary celebrations. So we had a Fortune 500 company that hit 50 years, and they threw a great party, and it was fun. But at that time, most of my team had more of a marketing, HR, comms background and things. And they said, God, there were a lot of other opportunities that this company had that they could have really used that anniversary year in so many different ways. I mean, not only thanking their employees, but there could have been, things they could do from a marketing standpoint, PR, so there's opportunities left at the table. So what we did is we figured, all right, with this recession, if events are going to be, pushed aside, if you're going to be 100 years old as a company, you're probably still going to do something. So we launched what's called the Anniversary Company, which is a division of our company. So that was born out of the first recession, and that is much more of a business or in consulting, or niche consulting firm, and we're one of only 3 in the country that really specialize in that.
Do you know that is Tiffany's positioning, sort of? That the reason why Tiffany has lasted so long is because their purpose is to memorialize the greatest events of a person's life, and that's why they're not a jewelry company. It's also why they make awards and Oscars. So while other people are selling jewelry, they're like, what are the greatest moments in someone's life, and what can we do about that? That's how they've lasted. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So that was one thing. And then, so back then, that was pretty much all me. While that was happening, unfortunately, my mom, my dad, and my father-in-law all passed away within like a series of a year and the recession. So it was crazy. It was just me trying to figure
Mm,
out what to do next. When COVID hit, by that time I joined EO, which Entrepreneurs Organization, I think you guys know about, which is a great, and had a lot of um, people that I could lean on through COVID, which was great.
Yeah.
nice.
It's a great community. Carol, I was the learning chair for YPO during the pandemic. And so
Wow. Yeah.
I got a chance to do virtual events for hundreds of people. And it was just like, oh, how do you do this? The good news was that, though, we had some budget and could share money with people that were looking to do something. They were so desperate to get out and
Yeah.
teach or communicate or connect. So, trying times.
Yeah.
Is there anything you ever had to change about yourself as a leader before your company could change?
I think I've had to learn to hire slow and fire fast. Right. That
Yeah.
advice that you get along the way that for me, took a while to sink in, because it's really, in the end, the right thing to do for everyone else there. Right.
Wait a minute. That's what's supposed to happen? That explains everything.
From-
I got it backwards. It's like, yeah. Oh man.
That's good.
So any other, like, you seat at the table, you've checked a lot of boxes. It sounds like how did you grieve um, those people in your family and still run a business? I mean, did it take longer to grieve, or did you compartmentalize? How did you get through that? That's a lot in 1 year.
um, my dad told me that I was born to run a business, and with or without him in the room, I remember that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's sweet.
So
That's sweet.
Like, did he literally
he
say
was
that when you were?
an Eskimo. So, I mean, he was, I mean, he was always full of happy things.
Yeah, well, you get that from your dad, right? You said you're
Was
an
was that
optimist.
something though that he really shared with you, like as a younger person or younger adult, or like, can you remember as the specific moment, or was it always like, oh, you're gonna run a business someday?
Nope. When I opened my first physical office space, and we had an open, and he sat behind my desk and looked around, and I hadn't hit a home run. I'm not I didn't meet his little league dreams, but I did this. And he sat there, and that's exactly what it says. You were born to be here. You were born to be in this chair. You're born to do this. Whereas my mom is like, dear God, you just left General Motors. What are you thinking? Like, that is security, right? That's like a pension. What are you thinking?
How did you feel at that time when he sat in that chair? What were you feeling?
Um, Grateful, pride that, yeah, I mean, it was just a really great moment. I'm gonna cry if I talk about it, so I'm gonna do that. I haven't thought about that in a very long time, or at least talked about it, but yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah. John and I both lost our mothers in the last year. And I keep a picture of my mom on my desk right behind the man in the arena
Mm.
post. And I look at her every day, just like, So I feel like our parents are always with us, and they plant these seeds of
Yeah.
possibility in us. And, we're always trying to make our parents proud, whether they're here or looking down on us. So thank you for sharing that.
That's good.
Good question, John. Okay, so can I give you some rapid fire questions? Are you ready? John, jump in if any of these rapid fire questions spark. Let's see. Coffee order, simple or diva?
Black. I need the
Simple. All
caffeine.
right.
Black coffee, bring it on.
Her father's daughter. I'm the diva on this call. All right. If you weren't running a business, what would you be doing?
Running for office? No.
Yeah, let's do it. You'd be good at
City
that.
council, right?
Would you like to make an announcement? Is it you want to make some news right here on this podcast? Let's do it. The world needs leaders, moderates, please. All right.
Here's one, Mike.
Go.
Was there a movie about Detroit or filmed in Detroit that you most resonated with?
Not so
I'm
much.
a big movie guy.
No,
And the one that for me it pops up is Grosse Pointe Blank. And I'm just curious if that like resonated at all, or if that was just kind of goofy.
But Working Girl with Melanie Griffith and Harrison Ford.
There you go.
That was the movie. And the moment when she connects Trask Industries with radio, which wasn't necessarily, a popular opinion at the time, and her looking at, like, her saying, oh, I looked at this and I looked at this and put it all together. I think that's something that made a difference in me. I was really young, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to read different things, right? So today, like, I'll read the Jewish news. I'll read Fast Company, like, find ideas from everywhere, right? And see how you can piece them together. That, I think, is
all right, great. So here, a book every CEO should read.
Oh God. I mean, anything by Simon Sinek. Setting the Table by Danny Meyer in the hospitality business, I think, is just like required reading. So
awesome. What is one word your team would use to describe you? What is your CEO superhero power?
Paying attention, being observant.
And your kryptonite. Look at she's talking and I interrupt her on paying attention. The irony. I'm so locked in. So it's paying attention. What's your kryptonite?
Having too much time. I'd rather I work well on deadlines.
Awesome.
Long drawn out. I'm
interesting.
Well, Carol, thank you for spending time with us. It was great. I hope I haven't had too much coffee. That was a lot. And
let me put her on the spot. She works great on deadlines. So what are you going to do by the end of the year?
Oof. Ooh. I'm going to make more money.
How are you going to make more money? What's your plan? I'm
renegotiating a couple of contracts.
Awesome.
There you go.
So yeah.
Hey, Carol, I know that this is a super busy time for you. So thank you, because speakers, right? It's like all happening in the fall. Then there's a thing in the spring. When do you say, well, nothing's happening now anyway, so I'm just going to take some time for myself and get out of town?
December, really. I mean, because like you said, everything happens in the spring and the fall, right? Nobody wants to do corporate events close to, the holidays, Christmas. So it is just quiet the last 2 weeks of December. And it's perfect, right? I mean, I'm in Detroit. You let the snow fall and drink hot chocolate and sit in front of the fire and just do nothing.
Awesome. Well,
That is
I
great.
hope I hope your Thanksgiving is amazing like you and your holidays awesome. Thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
spending some time with us and the work that you're doing. I love your hunger idea. So go
Oh,
do it.
thank you
Let's
very
go
much. It
do it.
was great chatting with you.
It
Okay,
is a
hold
great,
one.
great idea,
Yeah,
Carol. I think you guys
yeah.
should be like almost known for that. I think it would be a good kind of separate, like almost embedded in mission statement or purpose statement that you can embed into the business, and it might really take off. I think it's a really good idea.
And watch this, Carol. I think that John wants to be your corporate sponsor.
I love it. All right. There we go. Let's
See
go.
what just happened? See what just happened?
I love it.
Thank you so
I'll
much,
be
Carol.
talking to you, John, after this. So.
All right. Thanks, Carol. Great meeting you.
You too.